Good evening. Happy Monday. How is everyone? Hi, I am Kristi with ReHash Decor and Design, and I'm here in Indianapolis. So it's Monday. It's the start to a new week, and I've kind of been running around per usual on a Monday, like a chicken with my head cut off. That's just my Mondays. Mondays are always crazy days for me. But I'm excited to start a new week. The sun was out and there's no like massive ice and snowstorms in the forecast. And so that's always a good thing, right? So, tonight I wanted to talk texture magic. So as you jump on, say hello. Let me know where you're joining from. Feel free to, sprinkle this out into Facebook land, and for all those who might also want to learn all about our texture magic. So this has to be, besides the Metalsmith products, this has to be one of my favorite products. So hello girls, nice of you to join us this evening. So this is probably one of my favorites. So I have created so many pieces, whether they're big pieces of furniture or they are smaller decor pieces with texture magic. And there's like so many different ways that you can use this. And so as I was sitting down thinking like, okay, if I'm going to teach you the basics and just assume you've never ever used this product before, like, where do I start? What should I show you? What would you want to know? And I just kept coming back to, I'll just show you a few small things that maybe it would be easier to show you on like small decor things versus like a big piece of furniture. And so that's what I decided to do, because sometimes it gets a little overwhelming maybe on a big piece of furniture if I'm going to try to show you several different ways. But there are literally, there's no wrong way to use this. Well, maybe there is. But like if you're applying it to a piece of furniture or to a decor piece, like you just can't do it wrong. You just can't, because what you're trying to do is create additional texture on your product, on your piece of furniture, and you want it to look imperfect. And that's what I love about it. Like you can put this on, make your product look imperfect, and then you can paint over it. And so you're not looking for that perfectly blended piece, that perfectly smooth piece. This is so incredibly forgiving. And so that is what is my favorite about it too, is that if you're not like super duper maybe experienced with you know, blending or whatever, like this is a product you can attach yourself to, because you can really use this in a way that like you can't mess it up. You just can't. So that being said, texture magic comes in a jar like this, and it is a really super powdery surface, or really powdery product. I can't even talk today, you guys. You can tell it's Monday. So what I thought I would show you that we could do, and I literally changed my mind like 15 minutes ago because I was down here playing, and so I literally changed my mind on what I was going to show you too. So I'll probably not have what I need, because that's how I roll too most of the time. So what I think I'm going to do, I have some little flower pots, so I thought I'd show you on a little flower pot, like how to use it on that. And then I also have a this big wine box over here that I've kind of started and put a base coat on. And so I'm going to show you a little bit different way to use it, or how I'm going to use it on this. So, because I wanted to put it on this differently. So I'm going to show you on this different than I do the flower pots. And then I thought, well, that'll just give you two different ways to use the product on two little small pieces. And we'll just kind of talk about product and all the stuff as we go along the way. So I kind of did a little bit of homework and prep before we got on so that I could show you the mostest of stuff. So what we're gonna get to is this. If you can see this and my light isn't being like super duper goofy. There's a lot of texture like all the way around there. You can really catch it there. A lot of texture on this little pot. So this is just one of those little like, oh, well, this has got something in it. Because you can see I picked it up like 10 minutes ago. So this is just one of those little clay pots, like super cheap clay pots. And we're gonna dress it up and we're gonna just make it a fun little Easter decor thing. That's what we're gonna do with it. So honestly, truth be told, I started these last Easter. And who has projects that they start and then they lay around and they don't get done? Every crafter, right? And so that's me. And so when I was trying to figure out what to do and 15 minutes ago changed my mind, this is what I changed my mind to do. And so I saw these sitting around and I was like, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. So I have no idea exactly which color I used to paint these. So we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna guess and it doesn't really matter. So what I like to do if I'm gonna do a full-on coverage of a piece is I like to put a base coat of a color onto the piece just without any texture magic at all before I put the texture magic on. And I just think that helps because if you're putting the texture magic on, you'll see here in a minute, we're gonna do it in a really haphazard way. And that way you don't have to worry about, hey, if I forgot one little spot, it's okay because you've got something underneath, so your surface isn't gonna necessarily be showing, especially if you're not planning on adding all kinds of different layers of paint colors and things to your piece. So grab a bowl, grab some texture magic, grab your paint. The paint that I'm gonna use is French Country. This is French Country. So that's the color that we're gonna use. So grab a bowl, grab some spoons. I grabbed a whole bunch of spoons. So I've got spoons here. I've got my texture magic. I've got a couple extra hairs just for added measure. So what I'm gonna do is pour, if I get it open, I'm gonna pour my paint in my bowl. I didn't put an apron on and it's not over here, I don't think. Let's hope I don't get stuff all over me. You guys, I paint like a hot mess, so does that explain to you my Monday? Like, I didn't grab my apron. I changed my mind 15 minutes ago. Okay, so we're just gonna put a little bit into the bowl. I'm just gonna pour it instead of scoop it out, but it doesn't take much at all, okay? So I don't have very much at all in this bowl. Yes, love this color, don't you, Cindy? So this is one of my favorite blues. Well, like turquoisey blues. And I say that like every color I pick up, it's my favorite. Just so you all know. Every color I use is my favorite. So I just put a little bit in the bowl. You don't need a whole lot. This goes a long way. And then you're gonna scoop up like a scoop of your texture magic. I'm gonna put your texture magic stuff in here. Now, if I have to go back and get more texture magic, like I'm gonna obviously need a new clean spoon because you don't wanna mix it up. I think that's pretty obvious to anyone watching, at least I hope. Aren't they all pretty? So I'm gonna start stirring it up. And the consistency that I wanna get is like brownie batter. That's the consistency that I wanna get. And clearly I don't have enough paint in there, so I'm gonna add a little bit more paint. So I always start with a little bit of paint, and then I add my texture magic, and then I'll add a little bit more paint if I need to. But I always end up with too much, and so I hate that. So I really try to not end up with too much because I don't want to waste it. So texture magic, the longer it sits out, it's gonna get thicker, it's gonna harden just like paint does. And so this isn't something where you can mix it up and then you have a whole bunch left over and then you're like, oh, well, I'll just put a cover on that and I'll just come back to it. Like, you can't do that. So you want to make sure that whatever you mix up, you can use. So if you are painting a bigger piece of furniture, mix up less than you think you'll need, and then go back and mix up more if you need to mix up more later. Okay, so I've mixed it up, and I have what's like brownie batter. Think about brownies. Brownies sound delicious right now. Thank goodness this isn't brown paint, because I'd be tempted to eat it. Okay, so there's my brownie batter. Now, can you make it thicker? Absolutely. If you want it to look more like concrete, make it like super duper thick, and then it'll just like glop on, and you can make it like really, really thick and make really big peaks in the paint. If you want it a little bit runnier, you can make it a little bit runnier if you want to, but you don't want to make it so runny that it's just like putting paint on. Like that defeats the purpose. So there's no exact measurement, just like with anything we do, right? Grab a chippy brush, because you don't want to mess up your good brushes. So grab a chippy brush. Mine have covers on them. And I added a trash bag right next to my chair, but I'm used to throwing everything on the floor, and so I just threw it on the floor, not in the trash bag. So I didn't help myself out any. Okay, sleeves up. We're not gonna get paint on ourselves. Not going to get paint on me. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this over. I'm gonna get my paint, get my brush in the paint. And then I'm just gonna start like stippling this on. Can you paint it on? Sure, you're gonna get like some thickness, you're gonna get some texture in there, but I want there to be like all these like fun peaks and valleys in this jar, on this. Now, you don't have to do it everywhere. Like maybe you don't want the texture everywhere. You just want it like in a few spots. Well, then just put it where you want it. If you want it all over, put it all over. So for this, because it's so little, we're just gonna create some peaks and valleys kind of all over it. And so what happens is like here, I think you can see here, like you can see where I've put it and where I haven't put it. So if I wanted to leave it like that, that's totally fine. And I can come back if I didn't feel like it had enough paint where I did not put it, then I can come back after it dries and I can just use straight up paint in the same color and paint over that area, and you'll be fine. You'll like totally cover it up. Or you can add another color and add some layers, color in. So that's why I say it's like super fun, and there's a lot of different ways you can use it, because this is where you're going to be able to create that layering ability to do the texture with this texture. Because once you create this, then when you go back over this with anything else, now whatever you go back over with on top is going to like grab onto all that texture. So whether you add a glaze or you add additional layers of paint, or you add wax, you know, like the gilding jewels, or you add an embellishing butter, whatever it is, it's going to grab on to that texture. So we're just stippling away. All right, so we got most all of this on purpose just because I wanted to have it all. So now you can see it's got like a whole bunch of peaks and valleys and texture on it, right? So that's all there is to it. Like that little guy's done for now. He just needs to dry somewhere that I'm not gonna destroy him. We're gonna put him back here, maybe. Okay, so he's back there, he's drying, but because we have this magic of TV, now we have this one that's already done. So this one already had the texture all over it. It's already dry. So now I need to decide, do I want to just leave it like this, or do I want to add something to it? It is incredibly rare that I would put texture magic on something and not put something over the top to really bring out the texture that's there. So whether that's, I'm gonna add another layer of paint, maybe dry brush that paint over it, or I'm gonna add some glaze. I'm gonna do something because I want you to be able to see all those different peaks and valleys that we created. And so I'm gonna just add to this one because we're gonna do some, I'm gonna make it springy. And we'll only do the springy if we have time. Of course, I didn't grab a glove, so my hands are gonna be a hot mess too. What I have now, I grabbed some antiquing glaze. Woo, this light's killing me. There's some antiquing glaze. It's in the whitewash. I also grabbed for later, just in case I forget, there's some ebony. So this is just black. So you can grab any of the different antiquing glazes. There's a bunch of different colors out there that you could grab. So I just grabbed the whitewash one, shook it up really good, and now I'm literally gonna use what's in the lid because I don't need a whole bunch. I grabbed a cloth. You could use a paintbrush if you wanted to paint this on, but I'm just gonna use a cloth. It's gonna work just as well for what I need. And I'm just gonna kind of blot it on here. And then we'll take off, we may take off some of it, but I'm just gonna get it on here. So we'll get it on here. And the reason I'm using the lid is because I'm using this, one, it's not a very big piece, but two, I don't wanna have to stick this rag down in the jar. So I may have to like dunk this a couple times, and I do this all the time where I'm too lazy to like put it in a little bowl, and so I'll just dunk the jar over a few times. Okay, so all I'm doing is just adding some of the whitewash. Now, I could add water to this. Like I could take and spray some water. You're probably having a hard time seeing because my light's so wonky. You could add some water to it. So of course, oh yeah, there's my water. I was like, I probably don't even have my water over here. You can add the water to it, and then if you wipe it back after you've added the water, it will take off little bits of what you have on there. So if it's too thick in an area, then just add a little bit of water and take some of it off. Okay, so that gave it a little bit, but then you look at, say you look at it and you're like, maybe that's not quite what I had anticipated. That's just like not quite the whole like look I was going for. It brought out some of it, of the texture, but it just didn't bring it all out in its total. Now you have all these fun like gilding jewels that you can tack on there, that you can wipe on to grab the color. So like this one's patina, you have jade. Whew, you guys, my light is killing me tonight. Okay, there's patina and jade, or you can add some silver, or let's see, what else do we got in here? Oh, here's turquoise. Turquoise would look cool. There's some turquoise, so you could add some turquoise to it. So you could add some other colors then to, or gold, there's gold. Or if you wanted to get kind of like a rusty look, there's some copper. You could add some copper to it if you wanted to add in a different color. So we can add in some other colors. And because I don't want to get my fingers all mucked up, I usually just put this on with my finger. But I'm gonna grab a brush today. I'm just gonna put the brush on in here. Grab some in the brush, and then I'm just gonna hit a few spots, and you can even kind of use your shirt or whatever. I like using my finger better with these jewels, but since I'm gonna be working on something else, I don't wanna have this all over my finger. So all I'm doing is adding like some additional like color. Maybe add it underneath here. All this is doing then is it's gonna bring out some of those additional little bumps and textures. Again, if you made this look like concrete, you could add additional silver. You could add, there's one called carbon. You could add carbon, which adds some black in there. So you can really add some definition to it if you wanted to. So here you can see, we just added some additional definition to the, to it. So you can kind of see the little layers. So that's really all there is to that texture. Set that over there so I can clean it. Okay, so that's Texture Magic 1. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. We have some eggs that we'll add in here in a second, but only if we have time, because I didn't come on here to show you how to paint eggs. So we're gonna work on our box back here really quick. And then if we have time, we'll come back and I'll show you the eggs and how we're gonna finish out these little cute little pots. Okay, so now I have my wine box and we have another bowl. And so we need to get our Texture Magic. We're gonna mix this up the same way, where we're gonna grab out our Texture Magic and our color. The color we're using, this is called Statesboro. Chastity, don't you love Texture Magic? Like, there's so many ways to use it. To narrow that down into the time that I have to show you all, it's like impossible. And you just kind of have to play around with it, and then you'll be like, oh, I could use it for that, and I could use it for that. Like, there's just so many ways you can use it. Okay, so I've got some Statesboro, I've got some paint. I'm gonna put the lid on because, you guys, I thought I put the lid on something the other night, and I didn't, and I spilled white paint all over the place. But I did not want to lose all my paint, so I scooped it all back up and put it in the jar. Okay, so we're just gonna put our Texture Magic in there. We're gonna stir it up. We'll probably have to get some more paint, but we're just stirring. You can see it's like sucking up the paint, kind of like flour sucks up water. Think like, you know, you're making some biscuits and gravy here. We're just making some biscuits and gravy. This is our gravy. And you'd think that I was hungry and hadn't eaten dinner, but I promise you I have. I just talk about food all the time. Okay, it's still, see, it's really, really thick. So it's really, really thick. So I'm gonna add a little bit more paint to it just to make it so it's not quite so thick. Now, if you were doing an area and you wanted it to be like super duper thick like that, then go for it. Leave it super thick like that. Now this box, I don't want to, like, I put that Texture Magic all over that little pot that we did. But this box, I don't necessarily want there to be Texture Magic like all over this box. I just want to add a little bit of texture because eventually I'm going to go back through once it dries. I'm going to go back through and I haven't decided, but I might add some additional colors. I might add just some glazes. I'm not sure, but We'll see. But I'm not gonna put this all over. And so that was another reason why I wanted to make sure I had a base coat, because I'm not gonna put this all over it. Okay, so I've got my Texture Magic. It's a little bit thicker, you can see, than the last one, but that's okay. I'm good with how thick it is. It's just a thick brownie batter. Now, I'm not gonna necessarily use the paintbrush. I do have a paintbrush and we might use it, but I'm first gonna use a spatula. So this time I'm gonna put it on with a spatula instead of with the paintbrush. So a little bit different approach to using the Texture Magic. So I'm gonna grab some on the end of my spatula, and then I'm going to, this is kind of an awkward angle, but then I'm just going to take it and smear it down and kind of go across, and I'm gonna try to just get as much as I can off. So I'm just completely haphazard. Some of it might be sticking up, and I'll show you. So some of it, I hope you can grab this. Some of it is kind of sticking up on the sides. Some of it is really thick. Some of it's thin, but it's just very haphazard. So that's kind of the look that I'm going for. So when this dries, it's just gonna look kind of like a patchwork quilt. And I think when you're painting, and you're painting with Texture Magic, sometimes after you do that first layer and you paint it with Texture Magic, you're like, oh my holy heck, what did I just do? Like, I just totally goofed up that piece of furniture. But you kind of have to work through that ugly. If any of you saw the red buffet that I did, like, my husband came downstairs when it was in its ugly stage, and he's like, what are you doing? And I said, don't you just worry your little self. I'll get this all put together. And then he loved it. So you just have to work through that ugly stage. But this is a good way to do it when you're gonna, especially when you're gonna layer, because now I can put other paint colors on top of this. They're gonna grab these other textures really well with the Texture Magic. I can put glazes on the top of it. So this is a great way to start kind of your layering process, because this kind of becomes your base. Especially since I'm doing this in the same color as my base. And again, super haphazard, like no real like rhyme or reason. And this putty knife that I have is really flexible. And so I like this, especially when I'm working on furniture, because if I'm like at the top of a door or something where I need to really bend this to kind of pull the Texture Magic down, I have that ability. So if you're looking for a putty knife, I recommend one that has a little bit of give in it. It just makes your job a little bit easier. Let's do this side. And you can see how I'm not really even using that much because I'm not covering the whole thing. I'm only and I'm just kind of making sure I get off of my putty knife what I have on it. So if you have a piece that's not perfect, like a furniture piece that's not perfect, this is a great method or something to use because you can kind of just go with the imperfections that your piece has. Okay, last side. Another thing that you can use like the corner of a cardboard box. Like if you have a cardboard box, just cut a little corner. You can use that as your spatula if you don't have a spatula. So you can use like really non-traditional tools, I guess, for the painting when you're using this method. Just to kind of get that imperfect look. So we're gonna leave it like that for the, drop that in some water. And then I'm gonna grab my brush because I'm gonna actually put a little bit of stippling on it with what I have left here in my thing. I'm just gonna add like just random, not all over, just random spots. I'm gonna add kind of that stippling just to give it like another texture that's on the piece as we, so when I go to put the next layer on, we just have a couple different textures. And so when the paint grabs onto this layer, it's gonna grab onto this where we used the spatula, different than where it's going to grab onto the part that kind of has the stippling in place. Easy peasy, right? So fun. You can also make this colorless or make it gray or whatever, make it super thick. And if you have a piece that has maybe like an indentation or something that needs filled in, you can use this to fill in like a groove or fill in maybe a little decorative piece or something like that that you don't want on it anymore. So you can kind of use it as your filler as well. Make it almost like a putty. So lots of uses for texture magic. All right. So if I can get this up to the camera without jacking it up. Okay, so there we go. So we just got these hot mess spots all around, with some of it being stippled, some of it been pulled with the spatula. And then once this dries really good, then we'll go over it with another color, whether that's glaze or another color of paint. I'll probably add like another color of paint just to kind of blend a color of paint with the Statesboro. But when you're blending the two colors of paint together, it's going to be completely imperfect because the paints are going to pick up all this texture. So you're really going to be able to grab that texture there, whether you know, when you blend it. So that's a fun way to blend and not have to be like super perfect. So back to our little, we've got a few minutes here. So back to our little pot. We made this little pot. We did the little waxes on it. We've got everything standing out. We've got it exactly like we want it. Now we're gonna paint these little eggs really super quick. If I can find enough paintbrushes really easily here. And then we'll hopefully put something down in there. Okay, so I'm gonna just stick, this is just like the top of a, one of these little cone things. I'm gonna stick that down in there just so that these eggs have something to sit on. And then I'm gonna put some grass on top of that. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to put some paper first. I tore some paper somewhere. I'm just gonna crumple up some paper so I don't have to put as much grass. I'm gonna save on the grass. And you guys, you can get this grass at the dollar store. It's super duper cheap to have on hand all the time. I don't ever get it anywhere but the dollar store. I don't have very much left in that bag, so we're just gonna use the rest of the bag. We're just gonna kind of make ourselves a little hot mess here in our basket. Get our stuff out of the way. Okay, so we just kind of have this stuff coming out. Pull it so it's kind of hanging over the edge. And I keep making a mess after I clean it up. Okay, get that out of here. Okay, so then these eggs that I have here, these actually came from the dollar store too. They just look like this on these big long sticks. I'm all about the dollar store to like help with little fun things like this. So this one I haven't pulled, I didn't get to pull the little ribbon off of, but anyway. So I just picked 3 colors of paint. This one is sponge sugar, so we'll grab sponge sugar first. This is, ooh, come on light. There's sponge sugar, such a pretty pink. And I mean, I'm a girl and all, but I don't usually do pink. Clearly, because I can't even open it. I don't usually do pink, but here lately it seems like I've done a lot of like purples and pinks and things like that on dressers, and so it's growing on me. We used to joke when we were younger that my sister got dressed in pink and I got dressed in purple, but I was so girly, I should have been dressed in pink. And I was like, no, I really didn't want to be in pink. Okay, so all I'm doing, I just put, these eggs were like that glittery and craziness, and I just put some dark gray swamp mud on them. And so now all I'm doing is painting them. You could totally put some texture magic on this. Oh my gosh, yeah, sponge sugar is pretty. I think my favorite pink is Rosebuds in June. I think that's my favorite pink. I'm painting a dresser for a little girl's nursery in that right now. So all I did was put some dark gray swamp mud on these just to cover up all the glitter and the bright bold colors. This will probably take a couple of coats of paint to go over and make it nice and solid. And then these would be super cute, going back to the last live, these would be super cute to add some of the sparkle in with your luster top coat. These would be super, super cute. Lullaby, yes, I love Lullaby too. So you could totally add that in. So then we're just gonna stick these down in here. Gotta poke through that paper first. There we go. Stick that down in there. Close up our rosebuds, or I mean our sponge sugar. Now you guys got me on rosebuds. So close that up. Then I have a really pretty, I'm in like this purple phase right now. So this is Amethyst Velvet. You guys, this is like a gorgeous color of purple. Light, violet, whatever you want to call it, but it's gorgeous is what it is. Put that in some water. Let's get this one out. I wonder if I can get this off now. I got the others off, but this one just would not come off. I don't know where my scissors landed. There they are. And we'll just cut this booger off. There we go. We showed it who's boss. Okay, there we go. Amethyst Velvet is what this one is. I think I said violet, but it's Amethyst Velvet. It is like super, super pretty. I used this on a dresser recently and it was just so pretty. Love this color. There's several, I used to not even look at the purples at all. And there are several that I am like in love with right now, so. Isn't it funny how you get like stuck in a phase where you start to like want to paint everything a certain color? I'll paint everything blue for a while, and then I'll paint everything green for a while. Okay, so there's the purple one. through the paper. I should have poked holes in the paper first. Come on, there you go. All right, and then this. So this won't look totally done before we're out of here, but well, you'll get the idea. And then this is Josephine. Oh, the Alice in Wonderland. Oh, that would be perfect for an Alice in Wonderland, or even mulberry pie. Mulberry pie would be pretty too. Josephine. This is Josephine. It's a really light, pretty blue. I'll try to remember here in a second. I have mulberry pie behind me. I did a dresser with mulberry pie on it. I think the dresser I did that had mulberry pie might have had the amethyst velvet on it too. So you could totally, like I said, you could totally mix up the Texture Magic and put on these eggs as well. That's what's really cool. Like you'll start thinking, okay, how can I add some texture to you know, certain things, whether it's, you know, adding texture to this egg, or it's a piece of furniture, or the other really cool thing to do is to add some texture to the Metalsmith products. You can totally add some texture there. And so if you think about rust and the rustiness, like the rustiness is, you know, always full of texture. Rust never is something that's flat. It really usually has some texture in it of some kind. All right. So there's Josephine. Yes, Josephine is pretty blue. I painted several things in Josephine. Okay, these like are not in their like real space, just so y'all know. We're just gonna kind of stabilize them in there for a minute. And then I, just so you guys get the gist of where we're going with this, I also have some little carrots. We'll probably put some little carrots in here with these guys to fill them up. And then add some ribbon or something really super cute. So we'll have those eggs, that, and then I'll add like some ribbons, or even like just some like checkered or striped ribbon or something like that. So it's not done, but I'm not gonna finish it up until after we get everything painted. But anyway, just a cute little, you know, Easter thing. Super cheap too. So if you guys are looking for a really inexpensive way to make an Easter you know, decor thing, grab yourself an inexpensive pot, then you're just gonna paint it, and then you're gonna add that Texture Magic to it, and then you can add whatever accessories you want, whether it's the eggs or the carrots or whatever you want to put in the top of it. It's super, super, you know, easy to do all that. So but the Texture Magic is so much fun, whether you're gonna put it all over something like this, or you're gonna do it more like what we did this wine box, where we use the spatula and we just put it in random spots, and then you're gonna layer it with other kinds of paint and other kinds of, you know, maybe glazes or something like that. So Texture Magic is a fun, very forgiving product, and it's great to use if you don't want something to look perfect, feel perfect, but I encourage you to get some, play with it. You cannot ruin anything with it. So as long as you mix it up to be like brownie batter, you're golden. You can use it any way that you choose after that. So this is what it looks like when it comes, Texture Magic. You can go out to the link that I linked above to purchase it, or if you are local here to me in Indy, there is some in the store at the Woodshed Willow Tree. There, it is in the store there. So you're more than welcome to go and pick it up there as well. So there you go. Have fun with it, and I can't wait to see what all kinds of creations everyone makes. You guys have a great rest of your week. I think there's another live maybe Thursday this week, so catch that live, and hopefully you'll learn some more fun tips. I know even as long as I've been doing this, I still learn some fun things too. So you guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk again soon. Take care, guys.